Story 5, Shadow in the Cornfield. My name? I'd rather not say. I live on a small rural property, surrounded by cornfields that stretch as far as the eye can see. My life is simple, quiet. The kind where the loudest sounds of the day are birdsong or the wind rustling through the leaves. I've always liked it that way. The solitude here never bothered me, until that night. It was a Thursday late at night and I was sitting on the porch, gazing at the starry sky. The silence was almost complete, broken only by the occasional rustle of corn leaves in the breeze. I had no worries at that moment, just letting my mind wander. But then something changed. A different sound, almost like a snap, echoed from somewhere in the field. I froze, straining to hear better. Another snap, this time closer. It wasn't the wind, I was sure of that. Slowly I stood up, my heartbeat quickening as the sound continued. It was dry, rhythmic, like something, or someone, was stepping on the dry leaves between the rows of corn. I grabbed my flashlight and walked to the fence that separated the house from the field. The light flickered as my fingers gripped the switch tightly. Probably an animal, I thought, trying to calm the growing anxiety. But deep down I knew it wasn't. I pointed the flashlight toward the field but saw nothing except the endless rows of gently swaying leaves. Then the sound stopped. The silence now felt oppressive, almost tangible. That's when I felt something strange, a sensation of being watched. My stomach churned and a faint dizziness washed over me. Not knowing what else to do, I called out loudly, "Who's there?" My voice seemed to echo unnaturally in the emptiness. No response. Just silence, dense and heavy. That's when I caught something in the corner of my eye, a shadow moving between the rows of corn. It wasn't human. It was tall, thin, and seemed to glide in an almost unnatural way. My body froze. Every part of me screamed to run, but something held me back. I just stood there, flashlight pointed, waiting for it to reappear. As the shadow disappeared deeper into the rows of corn, my body finally obeyed the instinct to flee. I took a step back, still clutching the flashlight with trembling hands. This can't be real, I thought, but the dry rustling of leaves continued. It wasn't just my imagination. I took a deep breath and summoned the courage to approach the edge of the field. The flashlight illuminated the first few rows, but beyond that, the darkness seemed to swallow the beam. The feeling of being watched persisted, stronger now, as if something was observing me from just beyond the light's reach. I took another hesitant step into the field, straining my eyes to see through the gloom. Suddenly, a different sound emerged. It wasn't the snapping of leaves anymore, but a low, constant humming that seemed to vibrate in the air around me. The sound didn't come from a specific direction. It was everywhere, pulsing inside my head. My vision began to blur at the edges, and my body grew heavy as though something was draining my strength. Then I saw it again. The tall, thin shadow stood further ahead, motionless. It had no defined features, just a strange, disproportionate silhouette unlike anything I'd ever seen. My instincts screamed for me to run, but my legs wouldn't obey. It was as if I were trapped in an invisible bubble, unable to move or even cry out. As I fought against the paralysis, the shadow tilted its head slightly as if studying me. A chill ran down my spine, and a flash of light appeared above it, like a silent burst in the sky. For an instant, everything around me turned white. When the light faded, the shadow was gone. The humming stopped and I collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. I reached for my phone to check the time, but it was off, even though it had been fully charged before I went outside. Dazed, I struggled to make my way back to the house. Every step felt like it lasted forever, and the path seemed different, as if the cornfield had shifted. When I finally reached the porch, I leaned against the railing, exhausted. The clock on the wall inside read 3:47 a.m. I had entered the field around 11 p.m. Where had the lost hours gone? What had happened during that time? The only thing I knew for certain was that I wasn't alone that night. Something had been there, and it had chosen me as its witness. As the sun began to light up the property, it was a relief to finally see everything clearly. After the terrifying night, I hoped daylight would bring answers or, at the very least, a sense of safety. But as I looked out the window toward the field, my heart began racing again. In the middle of the cornfield, where there had once been only neatly arranged rows, There was now a perfect circle, as if something massive had landed there. The plants were flattened uniformly, without breaks or signs of force. It was impossible for the wind or an animal to have caused it. This was deliberate. This was not human. Unable to resist, I went to the site, ignoring the fear still coursing through me. As I approached, the sense of strangeness intensified. The circle showed no footprints, tire marks, or anything else that might explain how it had been made. The leaves of the plants had a strange sheen, as if they were coated with something translucent that disappeared at the slightest touch. My mind raced in circles, trying to find a logical explanation, but the only thing I could think of were the shadows and the light from the night before. I returned to the house, feeling a mix of dread and fascination. With every step, the sensation of being watched came back, as if those dark eyes were still nearby, hidden. In the nights that followed, sleep became impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I was haunted by strange dreams. I saw the same enormous black eyes with no pupils staring directly at me. They said nothing, but I could feel them trying to communicate. The feeling that something had entered my mind was unbearable. Since then, I've avoided going outside at night. The circle in the field eventually disappeared, but the dreams remain. I still feel their presence, as if they're watching me from afar, waiting for the right moment to return. To this day, I wonder, what did they want with me that night? Was it just an observation, or a warning?